So the Chiefs just released a surprising veteran player that I thought could have a shot at making the 53-man roster, and with him gone, they brought back a familiar face for the trenches along the defensive line. So we've got to talk about that. Phase 3 of OTAs starting up today. Chiefs players seeming like they cannot help but get in trouble this offseason and much more. But first, how about those? All right, first up, Travis Kelce hosted his second ever Kelce Jam over the weekend. Second annual, maybe. I don't know if he's going to do it yearly, but this is definitely back-to-back years. And he actually streamed the entire concert, event, extravaganza on his Twitter account for all to watch. In spite of that, and it getting almost 900,000 views, I believe, the event also sold out with 20,000 people packing into Azura Amphitheater in Bonner Springs, Kansas, which will forever be called Sandstone to me, regardless of how many new names they try to come up with. Anyway, this event featured performances from 2 Chainz, Lil Wayne, and more. Brittany and Patrick Mahomes, among other Chiefs players, were also there to show support, with Mahomes actually getting up on stage, snagging the mic, and at one point letting everybody know that back-to-back rings are not good enough.
And just know back-to-back's not good enough. You know what we're going for. 3
Well, yeah, a three-peat certainly is the mission, and it would be helpful if Chiefs players stayed out of trouble or the controversial spotlight for the rest of this offseason and just focus up on this freaking three-peat. The offseason has been a wild ride of ups and downs, with the shooting that happened immediately following the Super Bowl rally, injuring 25 or more people, and taking the life of Lisa Lopez Galvan. Rashee Rice then made his rounds in the news for fleeing the scene after the car crash on a Dallas freeway, and was back in the news for allegedly assaulting a cameraman at a Dallas nightclub earlier this month. We're still waiting for details on that one. Then kicker Harrison Butker was up next, not for getting in trouble, but for statements he made during a commencement speech that people want him to get in trouble for, and that speech was during a Catholic graduation the weekend before last. And if you want my full thoughts on that, make sure to check out the video I made last week here. It's like a 12-minute video, deep dive into the whole situation. And then, no, we are not done with Chiefs players making the news this offseason for not great reasons. However, the saddest part about this most recent ordeal is that the only reason these Chiefs players made the news is because Kansas is still living in the past about marijuana. In case you missed it, last Thursday, offensive tackle Wanya Morris and offensive lineman Jason Chu Godrick were both arrested for having in their possession some very scary, very evil, very bad devil's lettuce in Johnson County. They were charged with misdemeanor possession of marijuana, booked into jail, and released Friday after posting a $2,500 bond. And in case you were wondering who the heck Jason Godrick is, that's the Chiefs international pathway player from last year out of Nigeria. These guys were most likely in town in the Kansas area for the start of phase 3 of OTAs today. That started today, more on that in a bit, but I would venture to guess Andy Reid and company are beyond pissed, or at least fed up, that his players keep getting in the news. Obviously, it's not all of them, but it's certainly more than ideal. Again, a charge for weed in 2024 is ridiculous in my opinion, but it's still illegal in Kansas, so it's probably best to avoid that drama for the time being. Just smoke it in Missouri until Kansas gets with the program. After all, it's recreationally legal over the border. 15-minute drive. Come on now. But enough about that, because it appears that Rashee Rice is now staying out of trouble and focused on training, with Hollywood Brown sharing photos and video of him getting some work in with Rice, and sheesh, Hollywood is looking nice and ready for a comeback season with KC after spending the last 2 with the miserable Arizona Cardinals. The 26-year-old wideout signed a pretty team-friendly deal, 1-year deal, earlier this offseason, and will, in my opinion, play a major role in KC's offense this year, especially with this Rice suspension looming. They have elite speed back once again after bringing in Hollywood. He ran like a 4.27 40. They then drafted Xavier Worthy, who runs like a 4.21 40, I believe it was, the new 40 combine record. You know how it goes. Pacheco runs a sub 4.4 40, and then Rice is somewhere around there, but he is faster than his 40 time, being a yak merchant last year. And with OTA starting today, I'm sure we will start seeing some more footage of all these guys working very soon. And yes, for whatever reason, Rashee Rice doing what he should be doing, attending phase 3 of OTAs that started today, has made headlines everywhere. I mean, what else is this man supposed to be doing? Hanging out at midnight plus in a nightclub? No. How about racing around on a Dallas freeway? No. Putting in work with his teammates is exactly what I expect from him at this point. And even if a suspension comes this season, he'll still be able to practice at OTAs, mandatory minicamp, training camp, and play in preseason games. However, once the suspension starts, that's when he can no longer practice or attend games with the team. That is, again, if these legal issues are all sorted out by then and the NFL has rendered their own verdict via whatever suspension is coming his way. Anyway, in case you need a reminder, Phase 3 of the offseason training program is still technically voluntary organized team activities known as OTAs. The practices are not padded and no live contact is allowed, but the team can now run 11-on-11 drills as well as plenty of 7-on-7 drills. This is going to mainly focus on defensive backs and pass catchers since nobody can make contact. But hey, at this point in the offseason, something is better than nothing. I believe Andy Reid and possibly others are going to be speaking to the media tomorrow, so we'll definitely have more to go over after they're finished speaking, and maybe by that point in time we have some footage released from the Chiefs social team. However, we do still have more to discuss in this video because the Chiefs made a couple of intriguing roster moves as of late. On Friday, it was reported that the team surprisingly, to me and some others at least, moved on from veteran running back LaMichael Perine. The 26-year-old back was pretty much the next man up in case of emergency last year on the roster, or he was practice squad for a while, was elevated a few times, and I believe at some point was actually signed to the active roster when injuries hit the running back room. He finished number 3 on the team's depth chart and played special teams only during the Chiefs' playoff run. He logged like 37 special team snaps the first 3 playoff games, but was inactive for the Super Bowl when Jerick McKinnon made a rather quick return after getting core muscle surgery early in January, I believe it was. Anyway, Perine himself took to Twitter shortly after his release was announced and said, "Take the wins and the losses, but learn from every move." Well, whatever's next for him, I do wish him the best, but I was surprised at the Perine release because I thought he may have a shot at fighting for that running back 3 spot behind Pacheco and CEH, with McKinnon still a free agent, and again, Perine being one of the next men up last year. However, Jordan Foote of Sports Illustrated had a good find here when he revisited GM Brett Veach's comments on the running back room. I believe this was in his post-draft presser, and he was asked specifically about the running back 3 spot. So Brett Veach mentioned a bunch of running backs, but he did not mention LaMichael Perine. He brought up the newly signed UDFAs in Carson Steele and Amani Bailey, as well as the already rostered backs like Keontae Ingram and Deneric Prince. And then a couple beat reporters, I believe it was Matt Dickerson of Chiefs Digest, said that for what it's worth, at minicamp, Hassan Hall was gathering some attention as well. Again, though, Brett Veach never mentioned LaMichael Perine, so with Perine gone, they are either pretty high on one of the guys Brett Veach mentioned in that presser a while back, or maybe they will end up bringing in a veteran running back of some sort like Jerick McKinnon. He'd be ideal, but no idea about his future. There's also Dalvin Cook and several others still available if the Chiefs want to go that route. Another guy that made his presence known was former Chiefs running back Derek Gore. He posted on Twitter after the Perine announcement with 2 simple words, "Chiefs Kingdom," and this gif of homie looking up out of the grass like, hello. So he was either just making a joke about more Chiefs offseason drama with Wayna and Godrick getting arrested, or more likely was like, hey guys, I'm still available if you need a guy. Either way, it doesn't look like they are planning on adding a veteran running back at all, at least as of right now, because with that one available spot they had on the 90-man roster due to Perine's release, the team actually opted to bring back a familiar face in defensive tackle Matt Dickerson, who was released on May 13th to make room for linebacker Cole Christensen. Someone said they were surprised to see Dickerson gone because of how much he played with the team last year, specifically early on in the season. But my response to that was, I feel like we could see this man released and brought back several times this offseason. One reason for that is because he's a vested veteran, which means he's not subject to clearing waivers and instead was free to sign with any other team upon his release last week. But a week later, finds himself back in Kansas City. And this honestly could have been the plan all along. Like, yo, Matt, we got to let you go for a few days to adjust the roster, but don't worry, we'll call you soon. That kind of a deal. It's good to have him around, in my opinion, as he played in 190 snaps over 12 games for KC last year, although he was used less later on in the season, but still, he was a depth piece who knows the system, and that never hurts to have a guy like that around, at least for now. We have Dickerson back in the fold. And with that, I'd love to know your thoughts on the running back room with the release of LaMichael Perine and who you think, at least right now at this very moment, could be in the running for that running back 3 spot, and I didn't even mention Louis Rees-Zammit, the international pathway player from Wales, who is on the roster as a running back. He's listed as a running back, so he could be in the running for that as well, though he's a big question mark to me at the moment. But let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on that. And just FYI, my editor, Troy, he's going on vacation to Florida for like 10 days starting tomorrow.
Farewell, Chiefs Kingdom. Go Wolves.
Well, Troy, I hope you have a great trip, but you're about as pale as I am, so please wear lots of sunscreen. But what that means is I'm going to be holding down the fort by myself like the good old days, editing all the videos with him gone, as well as scripting, all of it, okay? But because of that, I may keep things a little bit more simple so I can stay ahead of the curve, get videos out a little bit earlier rather than when I used to do everything myself, dropping videos at 2 a.m. because I take 5 hours sometimes to edit videos by myself. So with that being known, show me grace during these next 10 days. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?